Y'all, when I was reading these documents, I was hollering. Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere, in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all are feeling good. I hope y'all are ready to get into the latest court documents that were just dropped. And you guys, I was reading through it and going, the wording, wait a minute. Oh my goodness. So many emotions. We're going to go over it today. Before we go any further, I did want to stop and thank today's sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh makes it easy to enjoy hassle-free, better-for-you home-cooked meals. And let's be real, making dinner every day can definitely be a chore. But with HelloFresh doing all of the planning, the shopping, and delivering all of the ingredients right to you, you can easily cook delicious meals and get back to the joy of cooking. Summer is here and life is busy, but knowing that I have HelloFresh meals in the refrigerator, all ready to cook, makes things so much more simple for me without sacrificing taste and nutrition. On this day in particular, I cooked HelloFresh's smoky garlic herb shrimp with garlic green beans and lemon green salad. It was full of protein, lots of micronutrients, easy to make, and refreshingly delicious. And the best part is I did not have to spend a lot of time thinking about it. All I had to do was follow the directions, cook it, and plate it up for the family. And HelloFresh has lots of nutritious choices where you can customize your meals with different things like lettuce wraps or double veggies, or you can pick meals like Calorie Smart or Keto or Protein Plus. Take advantage of HelloFresh's incredible offer by using my code ChristinaRandallFM for 10 free meals plus free add-ons for life. That is one free item per box with active subscription, free meals applied as a discount on your first box, new subscribers only, and it does vary by plan. Yes. Sign up today by clicking the link down in the description box or just use my code ChristinaFM. Thanks again, HelloFresh. Before we get into this, I need to let you guys know, though, I am not a professional. I am pulling all of my information from very public news sources that's already out there or court documents that have been released publicly. I am reading them, filtering them through my own words and my own opinions. Go do your own research, form your own opinions. Just do not show hate to anybody anywhere. Y'all, Judge Hippler, if y'all have been following this with me, y'all know Judge is who was over this case in the beginning, and Judge Hippler, he just dropped his rulings on not only the continuance motion, but also his rulings on the defense's alternate perpetrators. And wow, they're pretty harsh. Now, y'all remember in the last couple videos, that Ann Taylor, Bryan Kohberger's lead defense attorney, brought in the idea of there being alternate perpetrators. Y'all, today we heard there is 4. But first, let's talk about the continuance motion, because y'all know the defense submitted a motion to continue and argued for back on June 18th. And in my last video, we talked about how Judge Hippler said at the end of that hearing that he wasn't going to issue an official ruling right then and there, but said that they should expect to go to trial as scheduled.
In the meantime, I fully encourage everyone to continue as if the trial is going to take place when it is scheduled for. Again, I reserve the right to write the decision that I come to, but as of now, I would tell you that it's likely you're going to trial on the date indicated.
Well, on June 26th, Judge Hippler issued his official ruling, and he denied the motion, but he is allowing more time for jury selection and preparation. So now jury selection is actually going to start on August 4th, and the trial is expected to start on August 18th of this year, 2025. Here's a screenshot of the amended scheduling order. Now let's dig into the judge's rulings, because there are definitely some interesting little nuggets in there. First of all, right here in the beginning, the judge addresses the defense's argument regarding the amount of discovery that they just don't have the time to go through. Y'all know Ann Taylor has been saying that basically since the beginning. She's been saying like there is so much discovery, basically there is so much evidence that the prosecution says that they have against Bryan Kohberger, they just don't have the time to go through it all. They say that there have basically been a ton of issues that continue to arise from the state failing to comply with discovery deadlines. The judge replied to that saying that the court rejected this same argument 2 months ago when the defendant sought to strike the DP. In its order, the court observed the utter lack of any proof supporting the defendant's accusation of discovery violations by the state. And more importantly, the court found the defendant's complaints entirely unconvincing, pointing out that counsel struggled to articulate in any meaningful way what evidence, let alone relevant evidence, counsel had been unable to review. So basically, in layman's terms, the way that I'm understanding this is the judge is saying, look, you, the defense, are saying that you're not able to go over all this evidence, but you're not showing me what part could you not go through? And show me where it's relevant to his defense. Show me where it matters to his defense. Show me exactly what part you're not able to go through. At the end of this portion, the judge says, perhaps even more problematic and more telling is the utter failure of defense counsel now or at any time to specify not only what needs to be reviewed, but importantly, when that review would be complete and the defendant ready for trial. Instead, the defendant seeks an unbounded continuance with no apparent plan to complete the review of unspecified evidence that counsel claims it has yet to review. This is not sufficient to warrant a continuance. Y'all, when I tell y'all we're just getting started, because when I was reading these documents last night, I'm like, oh, so this judge is really going to cross his T's and dot his I's. This judge is laying it all out. Like, this is what you're doing wrong. This is why I'm not he's not just in the courthouse saying, no, I'm not going to continue this again. He's like, I'm going to put this all in writing exactly why we're not dragging this trial out another 3 years. Then the judge addressed the defense's arguments regarding them needing more time to conduct a more thorough life history. Now, a lot of this part is actually redacted, but something that I found interesting is a section where it shows what investigation the defense has already done into Bryan's background, and it lists defendant's PhD education records, including coursework interviews and correspondence, the defendant's mental health and medical records, including, and then there's a redacted part, records related to a childhood car accident, defendant's employment records, mental health, education, and employment records of defendant's sisters, which I thought was a little crazy. Like, they're even looking into the family's mental health records of defendants' parents, father's military records and social security records, court records from multiple generations of Kohberger's family, the paternal side, VA records and death certificates from maternal and paternal uncles, multiple interviews with defendant and each immediate family member, interviews of 2 of the defendant's 4th grade teachers, former boxing coach, and psychologist who evaluated the defendant in 2005. Interviews with multiple members of defendant's extended family on maternal and paternal side, and interviews with defendant's professor and advisor at DeSales University. Interviews of defendant's former coworker, interviews of at least 1 family friend, and letters and jail calls between defendant and his family. So, as y'all can see, this is what the defense has been doing. And before we get into what Judge Hippler said, just me reading that, I go, okay, so you don't have time to go through the discovery, but you're interviewing Bryan Kohberger's teachers from 4th grade. You're interviewing a psychologist that he talked to 20 years ago in 2005 when he was still a minor. That's what you're doing with your time, but you're coming to the judge saying, oh, this discovery is just too much. We don't have time to go through it. No, you grasping at straws is what it seems like from my very unprofessional opinion. The judge says It is evident from the reports of defendants' mitigation experts, Dr. Orr, Dr. Ryan, and Dr. Brams, that they have developed an expansive understanding of the defendant's family. And y'all, I found that to be like kind of like tea, like the judge is saying, from all these doctors, it sounds like y'all have a very large understanding of Bryan Kohberger's family at this point. This is what you've been doing. And towards the end of this section, the judge refers to this further investigation as a fishing expedition. Hello. He says that at some point, particularly after 2.5 years of investigation, the defense team must be satisfied with what they have. You guys, do you understand this is my unprofessional opinion. The judge is like, after 2.5 years, you're coming to me needing a continuance, saying you can't go through the discovery, but you're out there fishing, okay, from a psychologist that he talked to 20 years ago. From his 4th grade teachers, like, why not his kindergarten teacher? Why not his 3rd grade teacher? Why is 4th grade? Y'all, it's so unbelievable to me. Now, in regards to the defense's arguments that they need a continuance due to pretrial publicity. Now, y'all remember the documentary and all that stuff. The judge said this: with the measures the court has already put in place to protect the defendant against the pretrial media coverage and the court's carefully crafted jury selection process, there is no reason to think that an impartial jury cannot be selected through a searching and robust voir dire. In addition, while continuance may be appropriate, if pretrial scrutiny is reasonably expected to fade with time, it is an ineffective tool where publicity is such that there is no reason to anticipate that it would subside by any delay, which would not put off the trial indefinitely. And then he said this, and I was like, hello, I agree. He also said that the longer that the public is made to sit and wait for the facts to come out of the trial, the more time that there is for inflammation, speculative stories, movies, books to circulate, and more time for prior ones to be rebroadcasted, purchased, viewed, and consumed by the public. Proceeding with trial as scheduled will likely avoid negative consequences from future publicity. Thus, the court finds a continuance is not warranted based on the media coverage. Rather, careful and patient voir dire is prescribed. I mean, you guys, even with the Karen Reed trial, look at how big that got. And then with the second trial and then more documentaries being made about it, it's just like the longer it's drug out, the more stuff keeps coming out, more interviews people are doing. The bigger that this is getting and more interest that is coming into this trial, the more people are going to be willing to pay for certain interviews. More, you know what I'm saying? Just get on with it. Y'all know how I feel about this situation with all of the evidence that I have seen so far and the lack of defense that we have seen or any explanation of why Bryan's DNA was on the knife sheath, why he was around there, cell phone ping, everything, putting his DNA in little baggies. I'm thinking that they have the right guy. However, I even believe I could go sit on the jury and be impartial. I would go in there and only take what is presented in the trial to make my decisions. I think that they're grasping at straws, and they have been for a long time. Now, let's talk about the ruling about the defendant's alternate perpetrators, okay? So them bringing in the fact that, wait a minute, it could have been anybody else. In this ruling, we learned that the defense offered not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4, y'all. 4 alternate perpetrators. Now, look at what the judge says here in the beginning. He says, here the evidence the defendant has offered purporting to establish the 4 individuals as alternate perpetrators objectively fails to meet the standard. Namely, the evidence is entirely irrelevant. Nothing links these individuals to the incident or otherwise gives rise to a reasonable inference that they committed the crime indeed. And y'all, he says, it would take nothing short of rank speculation by the jury to make such a finding. Y'all, the word rank, nothing short of rank speculation. Okay. Rank speculation. When I read that, I said, oh, so Judge Hippler said, we're not having a Casey Anthony Jose Baez trial up in here. He said, absolutely not. He said, you're not just going to come in here and throw all this stuff around. Okay. Now, again, like the last one, a lot of this document is redacted, but let's talk about what we do know about these alternate perpetrators now that this document has come out. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that's like, he's not the guy. Okay. It was somebody else. So after 2.5 years, this is who the defense brings forward. In part of the judge's reasonings for his ruling, he says 3 individuals were each socially connected to one or more of the victims, interacted with one or more of the victims at social events in the hours prior to the incident, lived within walking distance of the crime scene, and were familiar with the layout of the victims' homes prior to social events. Now, just that part right there, I go, okay, these are college students. We know that at least 2 of them were out that night at the bar. They came in contact with a lot of people. They stopped at the food truck. They're within walking distance of a lot of other people. Where are we going with this? Goes on to say, while perhaps this evidence could suggest an opportunity to commit the crime, which no doubt is an opportunity shared by dozens of others in the victim's social circles, there is no compelling evidence that any of them had any motive to end the lives of the victims, much less physically harm them or a means to do so. Further, there is no evidence connecting them to the crime scene. A lot of people have problems with the fact that the judge said that none of these perpetrators or alternate perpetrators have a motive, because people are saying, well, Bryan Kohberger didn't have a motive. But this is the part right here that I really like. The judge said that they have each cooperated with law enforcement, providing DNA samples. They all gave fingerprints. They all allowed searches as requested. So when the police went to them and said, listen, we think we just want to investigate you. Will you give me your DNA? Every one of them said, sure, here's my DNA. All of them said, search whatever you want to search, whether it was cell phones, homes, whatever. They allowed any kind of searches. They completely cooperated with the police. And it also says that notably, lab testing has excluded their DNA from the samples taken from the crime scene and the victim. So none of their DNA was found anywhere there, okay? As for the 4th person the defense named, the judge said this, and this is, oh my gosh, you guys. The 4th individual did not know the victims, but had a passing connection to one of them while noticing her stopping at a store approximately 5 weeks prior to the incident. He followed her briefly out the exit of the store while considering approaching her to talk to her. He turned away before ever speaking to her. The event was captured on surveillance camera. This individual subsequently cooperated with law enforcement, providing his phone number and a DNA sample. As with the other alleged alternate perpetrators, lab reports excluded his DNA from the samples that were taken from the crime scene and the victims, and there is no evidence connecting him to the crime scene. So basically, in my unprofessional opinion, the way I'm reading this is they started going through all of these security camera footages, tracking the victims' weeks, right? 5 weeks before the incident that happened on that night in November, they saw that one of the young ladies stopped at a store, and a man, we don't know how old he was. He could have been her age. He could have been much older. Whatever, okay? Say he was her age. Let's just say that. Saw her in a store. Maybe he thought she was pretty. Maybe she smiled at him in a store being nice. Maybe he was working up the courage to ask her for her phone number. He kind of follows her out, chokes up, gets scared, and turns away. And they're like, that's the guy right there. Well, they go to the guy and he says, hey, I had nothing to do with this. Here's my DNA. Search whatever you want to search. Completely cooperated with the police. And now he's not a suspect. And it's like, you guys, Bryan Kohberger's DNA was found on the knife sheath. You want to talk about DNA? When the FBI was sitting outside his parents' home, let's not forget that in the middle of the night, he was allegedly putting his DNA in baggies and walking it to the neighbor's trash can. And if you're just joining, the neighbors, they all lived on 1 acre lots or more. I mean, he had to walk to the neighbor's trash can, and the trash was coming out the next day. He knew he was putting it in that neighbor's trash can so it could be taken off by the trash people, because the FBI allegedly went up to the trash people and said, "Can I have that trash?" And that's how they ended up getting samples of Bryan Kohberger's DNA. So you got these 4 perpetrators that's like, "Here, yeah, give me a cup, I'll spit in it." And you got Bryan Kohberger in the middle of the night. He done went all the way to Pennsylvania hiding his DNA. Come on, you guys. Let's be so for real here. I mean, sometimes people do really bad stuff and then they get caught. But basically, the judge said that he's denying this motion because it fails to give rise to even an inference that they committed the crimes, or otherwise make it more or less likely that the defendant was the perpetrator. Therefore, it is completely irrelevant. It's irrelevant that a man saw one of the girls at a store and walked behind her like he was going to follow her out, like he was going to talk to her, and obviously choked up and went the other way. I mean, why do we need to bring that in? We're going to show that to the jury and say, how do we know that this wasn't the guy? Or how do we know that this person that had a conversation with her at the bar wasn't the guy? Like, it's just ridiculous. He also said that the defendant has provided no significant evidence of motive, ill feelings, means, presence at the scene, or any other connection to the crime that could possibly move the ball to the extent that it supports an alternate perpetrator theory. At best, the defendant offers a proof can give rise to only wild speculation that it is possible that any one of these 4 individuals could have committed the crimes, which is inadequate under Meister. In other words, it's not sufficient for a defendant to merely just offer up unsupported speculation that another person may have committed the crime, which is all the defendant has done here. Even if there was a shred of probative value beyond wild speculation, it is not sufficient for a defendant to merely offer up unsupported speculation that another person may have done this crime. Such speculative blaming intensifies the grave risk of jury confusion, and it invites the jury to render its findings based on emotion or prejudice. And to me, it's giving... We're not bringing up Zanny the nanny. We're not doing that in this trial. I don't think so. Those of y'all that watch the Casey Anthony trial, you know, man, Casey Anthony, it was Zanny the nanny did this, and it was dad did this, and it was she had to learn to lie because dad did this, and da. It's just like this Judge Hippler said, we're not even going there. Bring me some real evidence. Show me somebody else's DNA on the knife sheath, because it's only yours, Bryan. You know, like... So with all that being said, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that Ann misses Judge? I think so. I think she's sitting there going, we should have stayed in Moscow because he was at least, you know, I think he would have probably gave another continuance by now. He was so softballing stuff. And Judge Hippler, to me, seems very fair, but he is laying it all out. Like he's documenting why he's saying, to me, it feels like he is trying to make sure there is going to be no kind of room for an appeal or a mistrial or anything like that. He is doing everything he should do in the way that he should do it. And in Bryan Kohberger's defense, he's got a lot of explaining to do. A lot of explaining why he was circling their house that night in the same hours that the crime happened. Why did he speed away? That was his car. Why was his DNA on the knife sheath? Why was he purchasing on Amazon the same exact K-bar knife 10 months or 8 months prior to the incident, and then just a couple days after the incident on Amazon searching for a replacement sheath? Why was he hiding his DNA at his parents' house? I mean, there is a lot to explain here. And for the people that are online, and this is my unprofessional opinion, that are saying Bryan had no motive, I mean, maybe not a motive in a way of like he didn't like somebody or he had some sort of vendetta against them, but it seems like he was obsessing over Andy and the BK killer and listening to them. I mean, it seemed like he was building a persona. I don't know. What do y'all think? I know that I definitely think that if these alternate perpetrators did not have anything to do with this, Really? And they have done everything that Judge Hippler said. I'm so glad they didn't release their names, because if they would have released these 4 people's names, there are some people that will always believe that they were involved no matter what. Even if it was just, let's say, another college student that saw one of the young ladies in a store, thought she was beautiful, was going to build up the courage to go and maybe ask her for her phone number, chickened out at the last minute, and what if he could have been drug into this? It could have actually really affected these people's lives. Let me know what y'all think down below. Other than that, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.